heard these women on social media, and they're always talking about how the black man has never built anything. He ain't built nothing. He ain't built nothing. So I thought, you know what, let me analyze what happened as to why this is a fact. And to understand that, you have to understand the two major competing ideologies to move the race forward, which is one, W.E.B. Du Bois's talented 10th, and Booker T. Washington's industrial education, or the concept of teaching black people a skill. And what Booker T. Washington believed, and listen, had we followed Booker T. Washington's model and that Tuskegee Institute that he built, by the way, that is today now Tuskegee University, but by the way, the black man ain't built nothing. But that's a subject for another video. But had we followed his model, because what Booker T. Washington believed is that if you teach black people a skill, give them a trade, let them work with their hands, they not only will have work, but with their skill, they can build the black community. So Booker T. Washington sought out to create the Tuskegee. Look at that Tuskegee Institute. So Du Bois comes along and he says, wait a minute, don't train all black people and give them a skill. Give me 10%. Let me educate 10% of black people with the arts and sciences, and at 10% then can go back to the black community and lead the 90%. It was the talented 10th model. Two competing ideologies to move the race forward. Du Bois's talented 10th, Booker T. Washington's industrialized education. What happened? Why is it that these two models could not gain traction in y'all's community? I'm going to tell you the failure was. And listen, I'm going to warn y'all before we even get to this. Y'all not going to like this. Y'all not going to like it. But see, this is history. This is history. And I already know, I already know y'all are not going to like what I'm about to tell y'all, but God damn it, it's history. Because what took place is that you did indeed have a segment of Negroes who went off to colleges and universities, got their degrees, got their jobs, got their positions. But the failure in that model was some of them didn't come back. Some of them didn't come back. Once those black people were able to rub two nickels together, they dipped. They got the hell out of Dodge. They followed right behind white folks. You had what sociologists called white flight, which is a mass exodus of white people from these urban pockets to the suburbs. Sociologists called that white flight. And that white flight was followed by what sociologists call black flight. And that black flight was college-educated Negroes who got their degree, got their positions. As soon as they could rub some nickels together, they got the hell out of Dodge. And sociologists called that black flight. So the talented 10th, the failure in that was some of those didn't come back. They just said, look, we're not coming back. We're gone. We're out. Forget it. Now, the few that came back from that talented 10th, why is it that they were not able to lead? Because of the dysfunction of the black community and how dysfunctional the black community was and is, the Negroes labeled somebody trying to be articulate, speaking proper diction, wanting to turn homework in on time, wanting to pay attention in class, wanting to get good grades. Black people called that acting white. Yeah, they call you acting white if you turn in homework on time, you trying to get good grades, you trying to pay attention in class, you're acting white. And not only did black people say this was acting white, but black women called those brothers what? Educated lames. He's an educated lame. He a lame. Wears a belt, speaks proper diction, articulate, educated, clean cut, but he's an educated lame. You had a portion of the talented 10th who did not come back as Du Bois said they should. The 10% leads to 90%. Some of those Negroes didn't come back. They left. But the ones who did come back and try to lead, the black community labeled them as lame, particularly black women, as educated lames, Uncle Toms, acting white. Yeah. What happened to the brother who had a skill? The industrialized brother from the industrial education, teaching him a skill. What happened to him? Oh, he got his position too. He worked with his hands. He got dirty because he was hands-on. The black woman said, he ain't good enough for me. He's a blue-collar worker. I don't want him. I don't want the educated lame. I don't want the brother who works with his hands because he blue-collar. Even though he's making good money, even though he has a legal profession, even though he has a skill, that ain't good enough for her. She didn't want him. She turned her back on that brother. Yes. See, this is what y'all don't want to accept. Y'all want to make out like this shit just sprung up like dandelions. And I keep trying to tell y'all, no, it has an origin. It has an origin, folks. I know y'all don't like it. I know y'all are not going to accept this, but this is historical fact. This is history. This is history. So whenever you hear this sister talking about, well, the black man didn't build anything, listen, that Tuskegee Institute still stands to this day. This ain't no Dr. Umar Johnson school. No, this ain't no mythical trap house like Umar Johnson has. We're going to deal with him next week. That Tuskegee Institute that today is Tuskegee University, that Booker T. Washington founded and created, an ex-slave who understood the psychology of white people. And Booker T. Washington understood that white folks weren't going to hire you as no intellect, so it's best, and if you teach you a trade, let you work with your hands, you can always be able to work, and with that skill, you could build the black community. That was his philosophy. And those brothers who have skills, who have legalized trade or certified, see, he wasn't good enough for this black woman. See, because he probably didn't go to a 4-year university. He probably went to a trade school. He maybe went to a community college. But yet it's still, he has a trade. He has a skill. And he makes good money. He's making money legally. But he ain't good enough for her. He's blue collar. I don't want him. I don't want him. And I don't want the educated brother, because the educated brother is a lame. He think he white because he speaks proper. He wears a belt. And because he wears a belt and speaks proper diction, he's an educated lame. I don't want him either. So who did she accept? And I know y'all not gonna like this, y'all. Y'all just not gonna like it. Y'all just not gonna like this, but this is historical fact. Because she rejected both of those types of brothers, she was left to procreate with who? The street hustler, the thug,